County Board of Commissioners, February 10th, 2025, 6 p.m. meeting. Please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. Commissioner Collins is going to do the invocation and followed by the pledge and flag.
Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, please guide us as we make the decisions for the county, that we may make the best decisions for our constituents. Please be with us during this meeting. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any presentations today?
We do.
I'm sorry. We have the agenda in front of us. We need to adopt the agenda. Then the amendments need to be made to it.
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Now, presentations. Looks like we have Eagle View.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I believe they're on Zoom.
Okay.
Good evening. How's everyone doing this evening?
Doing well. Okay.
Can you hear us, Matt? Can you hear us?
You're coming through loud and clear on mine.
We're ready whenever you are.
Wonderful. And just to confirm, have 15 minutes on the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. Let me go ahead and share my screen if that's feasible. Are you able to see a PowerPoint on your end?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. Coming through?
All right, we see it.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all this evening. This is in reference to an RFP to capture imagery for Meriwether County. And upon the request, I was asked to talk a little bit about Eagle View and the imagery that we offer to support the county and hopefully provide a much needed service for you all. And so I'd like to speak for a couple of minutes about Eagle View as a company and kind of our ethos and what we come and offer as a partner to counties across the state of Georgia. And then we can talk a little bit about the imagery and specifically related to the proposal that we submitted, what solutions that offers and the benefit that provides to the county. A little bit of background about Eagle View. We're an imagery and analytics software company, and really, our approach is to empower government to find insights and really, transform communities, build efficiency within government by providing technology and workflow, and also, ultimately saving lives, making the county much safer, providing imagery to help with dispatch and 911. As well as reducing the amount of time that the folks spend on the road serving the government through being able to do desktop appraisal and asset analysis from the safety of the office. At our core, we focus on clear and detailed imagery. That's number one. Of course, seeing accurately what is on the ground so that you can do your job more effectively from the office. Three-dimensional views, that's kind of the second tenet to our core. So, many of you are familiar with what we call ortho imagery or top-down imagery, what you would see in Google Earth or Google Maps. We add a third dimension to that. So we have oblique imagery, which I'll speak to a little bit more here in a moment. As an addition to that, an easy-to-use software. So we focus on an end-to-end solution. And so, beyond just providing that clear three-dimensional imagery for you to do your work more effectively, we offer workflows to integrate into all of your current systems, such as CAMA software, Schneider, QPublic, web maps, to make sure that imagery is accessible and able to be applied in a meaningful way across the county. A little bit about a background of Eagle View. We were founded in 1998 in Rochester, New York. So we're a U.S. company. We build all of our technology right there in Rochester, our camera systems. We also have a fleet of over 100 airplanes where we really are able to custom tailor imagery needs specific to the government entity that we serve, in this case, Meriwether County. We have many patents for our cameras and technology, and we actually pioneered the technology of oblique imagery, which is that side-facing imagery that gives you that additional context for desktop appraisal, 911 response, and other functions that are critical to the safety and the effectiveness of utilizing imagery for government workflows. We offer certification of our imagery. We have many photogrammetrists and licensed surveyors on staff, as well as professional engineers. A lot of experience in the field. We have over 3 billion images on our database, and currently our imagery covers 94% of the population. Specific to Georgia and very relevant to Meriwether County, we fly 93 counties in the state, so we're very familiar with serving counties across the great state of Georgia. And we have 6 adjacent counties to Meriwether. You can see circled in this map. And that's important because Eagle View, kind of our ethos is getting data in the hands of decision makers to have meaningful outcomes. So any of this data surrounding Meriwether County would be accessible through Eagle View's portal for you to utilize for first response and any other functions in cross-jurisdictional boundaries surrounding the county. I spoke a little bit about the types of imagery we offer. So there's orthogonal imagery, which is that top-down view of buildings and homes, structures that you're used to seeing in traditional maps like Google. We add 4 additional angles to that. We add oblique imagery. So every single structure and item you may see on the ground, we add north, south, east, and west facing 45-degree imagery that allows you to really see what's going on, gain spatial context that's critical for effective assessment and response and sizing of situations. But we also support measuring any of those items on the ground. So height, distance, square footage, ground distance, line of sight, anything you can really functionally need to measure on imagery in either an appraisal or an asset analysis or response situation, we support that measurement in both of the top-down and oblique imagery. I always like showing this example of how critical context can be utilizing oblique imagery. Traditional ortho imagery that you're used to seeing, you can see here general context, structure on the ground, some roads, trees, light poles, basic features. But it's really hard to gain perspective and understand what is that structure. Specifically, if you'll note that item on the right, it looks almost like a parking lot on the right-hand side of that structure. Adding oblique context, it immediately becomes apparent. This is a church, and that looks like it's a gathering hall on the side of that church. So I think this just really highlights how oblique imagery adds that additional context for understanding situational awareness and effectively leveraging the imagery from your desktop. And ultimately, that goes from guessing to knowing, to really understanding what is going on the ground. And this is across the board for appraisal, public works, emergency response professionals, higher resolution imagery, and oblique imagery. It really, it supports so many different critical functions within government that provide efficiency and effectiveness without having to go out into the field, ultimately resulting in cost savings, ROI, and safer employees. Once again, specific to Meriwether County, I was looking on the Q Public website and the Properties Appraiser's account, and I thought this was a very telling image. On the left-hand side, you can see current imagery from 2013 that's hosted online. Coweta County on the north boundary of Meriwether, as a customer of ours where they fly 3-inch imagery, you can see there is some overlap, and we were able to capture this imagery in 3-inch resolution in the oblique view. And it just, I always say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And so this really highlights and showcases, whether from a property appraisal situation or a response situation, it really provides this meaningful context and the ability to measure on all these features on the ground to really do your jobs more effectively. In the proposal for Meriwether County, we're looking at capturing 6-inch imagery for the more rural areas and 3-inch imagery for the more developed areas. I always like showcasing this slide to set expectations of what those two image clarity levels may look like. Obviously, higher clarity means more perspective and context, but balancing clarity and coverage with the cost of capture is always a priority. Quickly, here is what this proposal map looks like, capturing 3-inch imagery at 64 square miles, and then 474 square miles in the remainder of the county at that 6-inch resolution. An important part of EagleView's agreement with government is what we call our disaster response program. And the way we look at this is every agreement EagleView has with government is a partnership. And the disaster response program is what we consider an insurance policy to you, saying that we will be there to support response and recovery for qualifying natural disasters, which include things like terrorism, Category 2 hurricanes, EF4 tornadoes or greater, earthquakes, and flood and fire. Its imagery will be captured up to 200 square miles after this qualifying event at zero cost if it's a qualifying event, and at greatly reduced cost, essentially at cost for us, if it's not what we consider a qualifying extreme event. And so this is a huge service that we provide. We just flew over 10,000 square miles for Helene and Michael this past year, supporting multiple counties and state responders. And in Georgia, we have flown quite a few tornadoes, as well as in Alabama and hurricanes down on the coastline. So that is a really important piece to this agreement that we consider. In addition to disaster response, we also offer a software that allows you to have image archives available. These image archives allow you to compare your historical imagery with your current imagery to understand change and impacts. Furthermore, we provide what we call early access to imagery as we capture within 1 to 2 weeks from the airplane being in the air flying. We provide this imagery to you to start utilizing and analyzing for workflows in the county. I spoke a little bit about the imagery, the orientation, the resolution, EagleView as a company, our approach to this partnership and agreement. I'd like to speak briefly to accessibility and workflows within EagleView. As it becomes apparent very quickly, thinking about imagery and how to leverage, multiple departments can benefit at the state, county, municipal levels. And we offer a viewing and measurement software to really help bolster and improve accessibility to this imagery. With this software, it allows you to see any location within the county, measure distance, height, area, all with a user-friendly toolkit. And ultimately, as you think about, how to get this imagery deployed, a key factor to this is there is no limit of users within government in Meriwether County to being able to access this imagery. So anyone, every department, constituents, people everywhere can utilize this imagery in this hosted environment, and it's at your discretion who has access to this imagery, and it makes it very easy to deploy and manage. We also integrate. And when I say integrate, this is a very key term. We partner with many other software vendors to pull that imagery directly into the software that you use every day, whether this is your CAMA software, such as WinGap, if this is your web map application such as Snyder, we partner with them to pull your imagery directly into that software to make sure it gets in the hands of the end user. Same for computer-aided dispatch software, 911 dispatch software. We support hundreds of integrations with different vendors to make sure that that imagery is readily accessible in the hands of the end user. As a final piece to this, in the proposal, it was requested to support analytic tools for property assessment, specifically a solution that we call Change Finder. What Change Finder does is it automatically detects property changes from year to year. So what EagleView does is we go in and we create building outlines for every structure over 100 square feet within every parcel in the county. And we compare these building outlines from your base year imagery. So in this case, it would be 2025 with your second year imagery in 2028. And we tell you everything that's changed. Change square footage, new structures, and demolished structures. Ultimately, what this does is it reduces costly and time-consuming visits to you, uncovers additional tax revenue, and allows you to update records on land usage and availability and ensure that there's an equitable tax roll. Also, there is a return on investment on this as you uncover additional tax revenue. So this is a big deal to two counties that utilize this service to justify, this is what this solution can provide, and here's the return on investment it has to the county, as well as ensuring equitable tax roll. I know I only have 15 minutes today, so I tried to trim down the slides from what we normally provide in a full demo. I am happy to answer any questions. If there are any specific items you would like for me to go into further, please let me know. But I do greatly appreciate the opportunity to present.
Any questions from the board?
I actually have a few questions.
Absolutely.
So you stated that it's easy, you have an easy to use software. Is that for an additional cost on an annual basis to the county?
This software is included with the imagery delivery. So all of our oblique imagery and ortho imagery, when we fly, we automatically upload that imagery to a server that is then provided to you through this software.
And the software updates that will be needed over the period of years, is that additional cost too, or is that free?
That is free.
All right. So on the 6-inch imagery you were showing with EagleView versus a 3-inch, 64% of the county would be under the 6-inch imagery. And then there was a image that you put up from John Q. Public, and there was not much difference in the blurriness of both of those. There was some more clarity to the 6-inch, but not much. And then go to your 6-inch.
Right there.
There. There's some clearness, but not enough to really make out too much on that 6-inch imagery.
The 3-inch is clear.
Yeah, that's going into small areas, more congested. So the 6 inches are going to be most of the rural area. But I just don't see much of a difference in the sharpness of it.
What is the, I guess, maybe a base difference in price between 3-inch and 6-inch?
Between 3-inch and 6-inch, I would have to run back and look at that proposal to give you an exact number. I would say probably somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 30%. If I had to unofficially back of the napkin, I always hate doing that, of course. I'd be happy to get you an exact if you would like. I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So you said that it would be to our discretion as to who would be able to view all of these. And of course, the taxpayers pay for this, so they should be able to do so. Outside of the assessment part of this and helping the county to determine any additional building within the county, what other areas does this help to cover? Are there any other areas that can utilize this? And if so, what could they utilize this for?
Absolutely. So outside of property appraisal, Our biggest user that we see across the board in the state of Georgia is 911. So 911's computer-aided dispatch software, this imagery, if the dispatch software supports base maps, we can add this imagery to update and provide them with additional spatial context. So the oblique imagery, the side angle facing imagery, as well as the standard ortho imagery ports directly into 911 software. Additionally, the Esri environment, if your county utilizes ArcGIS or GIS for engineering, public works, your environmental department, any other departments that utilize imagery in their workflows would be able to pull this imagery in and utilize it.
And my last one, you stated that we may uncover additional tax revenue. What has been the percentage that each county, or just a rough estimate as to what the other counties have brought in by utilizing this service?
I do not have any specific numbers on that. There were some numbers shared by Effingham County, Georgia, a couple of years ago on Change Finder. However, we do support within the Change Finder workflow specifically the ability to track ROI or additional revenue realized through the change analysis. So that is not a number that counties traditionally share with us, but we have a couple of case studies talking with counties about revenue being realized and the revenue being realized essentially making up for the initial investment.
And then I do have one more, I'm sorry. You stated that it automatically detects changes from one year to the next, but that is only if there's a flyover each year, not in what we are actually looking at as a 1 year and a 3 year, correct?
Correct. So any year you fly, we are able to extract those building outlines and compare. So in this case, flying in 2025 and 2028, it would compare your 25 to your 28 building outlines and detect change for those.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I got a couple of questions. Y'all fly over. It's not from satellite, correct?
Correct. It's fixed wing aircraft, manned aircraft, type Raztex and Cessna 163s, I believe. So fixed wing aircrafts.
Because a concern came to my mind sitting here. You're doing a great presentation. I credit you that. I don't know how the rest of the board will feel about this, but this came to my mind within the last 5 or 6 minutes. You got law-abiding citizens in this county, in this country, and then you got citizens that break the law all the time. State patrol guy pulls you over for speeding. You go, well, they were going faster than me. He goes, I can't catch all of them. What I'm concerned with is our law-abiding citizens that go in and get a permit for everything they do, and the taxpayers have access to this. I don't think if a man has 40, 50 acres, 60 acres, has a pond, has a campsite, if he's done everything by law what he's supposed to do, nobody should have the right to zoom down and look at everything on his place. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I agree, Gene, because I think that, yes, it is, certain things are needed. If this particular thing is needed, I'm not there yet, but say if you have something that is of extreme value there that is really nobody's concerned. And if everybody has access to these pictures, they can look at your property and say, oh.
Yeah, but they can look at it. Doesn't matter whether it's value or whether it's just, this individual permitted this shop and he's got him such and such over here and he's done this and done that. And then any Tom, Dick, and Harry in the county can, if they want to go, I wonder what all he's got back there. They just zoom in. They get to see your personal life.
Well, the thing is, there's already software and apps available that allow you to do that currently with your phone. I mean, I can pull up each one of our properties and see it right now.
Yeah, you can go on
The problem with
you can go on Google Maps.
Right, but the problem with it is that it is delayed sometimes 3 to 6 months. It's not always real time, so you can't see immediately.
Right. Well, that was going to be my next thing is I can pull my house up right now.
Well, this is only going to be real time for that moment.
Right.
Just for that one moment.
Right.
And then if you don't do it again for 2 years, 3 years, but what I'm getting at is, I can pull my house up right now and you can see the swimming pool, the fence, you can see my shop, you can see the pole barn, you can see the cabin, you can see the horse barn, you can see the little cookhouse by the pool. You can see everything on my property. How come our tax assessors guys that we're paying for, how come they can't type in an address and look at it? And how come we can't have a software that picks back, that they can look at it without, how much is this going to cost?
193 over
How many years?
4 years to do 2 flyovers. Is that correct?
6
6 years to do 2
6
flyovers.
years.
6 years is correct. Yeah.
About 33,000 a year for the next 6 years to do 2 flyovers.
That's just my opinion. You're right. You can't pull up an address and see what's at my house now, like I just said. Somebody can pull up an address, but still, it's,
I don't like that either, that somebody can look at
people
it.
don't think about that all the time, but when you start telling every department and everybody here, this is a new program we got and so forth, and, it's just, I don't know.
I will
Lucas,
say
I agree.
that
You did a great presentation tonight, and thank you.
Anybody have any more questions for the presenter? Okay.
And if I may speak briefly, did you have a question about the ability to share or limit sharing with imagery, just to make sure I didn't miss a question in there?
No, I don't think it was.
No, I just restated what you had said, that it's up to our discretion as to who views that, but I went further and stated the taxpayers pay for this, so ultimately it would be for them to be able to view too. So that's all.
What about, I got one more question. What about, I think the main concern was is so we could go out and if someone's building something without a permit or added and so forth, we get the tax on. Why do we need all the 3-dimensional this and that and so forth? Why not have it set up where it's a flyover? And then in 3 years, whenever the next one is, that's when y'all get to look at it and notifies that there's been some changes. And that's when you go out there to see if they got a permit. Why not simplify it?
So I will say from the perspective of Eagle View and what we see, counties primarily utilize this for, one being property appraisal. And the 3-dimensional side-facing imagery allows you to measure. So square footage of a wall, height of a roof eave, and it supports desktop appraisal. So, a property appraiser doesn't need to necessarily go out and do a field visit because they're able to do their job from the office. And so there's a lot of cost saving there. And there's actually a lot of equitability built in as well to ensure that not only are they not undertaxing, but also they're not overtaxing. So it allows them to go in and see if a building was demolished or if something has changed. Additionally, with 911, the obliques are huge to be able to, when you get a 911 call in your dispatch software, say, instead of it's a house in the woods with a black roof, it's a house, it's blue on the front, it's got a pole barn in the front, and it allows them to really gain additional context as they're routing and responding and sizing up the situations that they can more effectively allocate resources. We also see this a lot with law enforcement. And I will say in counties, especially counties that have a lot of rural area, the concern has been expressed with oblique imagery, especially, where law enforcement says, hey, we don't really want this oblique imagery out on a public website, which I totally get, right? Maybe you have a pole barn with a bass boat or a 4-wheeler or something under that, and you don't want just anyone to be able to zoom in and take a look at that. And so there is certainly the ability to limit accessibility to, especially the oblique imagery, to law enforcement and property appraisal and those that you feel should have access to that to support equitable appraisal and more effective first response. I think that's an important thing to note is it's your comfort level of how you would like to share the imagery, and that's really the power of having that software, so that you can really custom tailor what makes sense to you as a community, as a county. Does that answer your question, hopefully?
Yeah, I can discuss the rest. That's my thoughts. Thank you.
So is there any
Absolutely.
more questions for the presenter? If not, we'll move on to discussion as a board. You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Lucas, and you're welcome to stay on and maybe you can clarify something that does come up later.
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Harris, will you come to the podium? And I'm sure most of these questions are going to revolve around you. I'll go ahead and make one statement about my opinion is that, I like it. I am concerned about the cost and what we really get from it. I've had conversations with sheriffs and E911 people, and I've heard other conversations from people on staff that they've had with them about going in blind to places. So the fact that they could have better imagery of what exact property we're going to, what else is here, is there a big dog kennel, is there a secondary structure, or is there a gas propane tank close by, if it's a fire, something like that, could be beneficial to other departments. It would help the county be able to notice property changes if we do it. We get better views to assess. I think some of the attributes to this is that you can assess size of property from that picture. Correct. It gives you those tools. So that would be helpful. And in public works, if they have better imagery and things and can see those same angles and views, can do, quicker and better proposals for projects we want to do across the county, or get better data quicker out for proposal. I think there's some benefits to it. One thing I would want to make sure we don't do with your department is that now we don't turn into where everybody in your department is sitting in the office now looking at pictures on the computer and nobody's going out on the road. That's one concern that,
Well, the main thing is the flight will occur on a specific date. So the good thing about the specific date is it gives us the ability, as we pick up new permits, as we go through different things, as you're scrolling through this imagery, you might say, wait a minute, there's no house on this particular road. At least in your mind, you may think that. Now, as I'm scrolling through the imagery, I can see there's a house. So even if there's not a permit, even if no one mentioned it to me, that triggers us to go out there before the whole change finder even comes into play, because now we're notified that there's even a structure out there to be assessed.
Did I understand it that when he's talking about three-dimensional, because instead of just an area view, you get side view, three-dimensional, and get more clarity, correct?
Correct.
See, that's what I'm talking about. If you take and fly over and look at the pictures we have now, to me, it ought to be set up to where they can do a flyover and take a picture of everything. And then whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 6 years, whatever, fly over again, and that software they have that notices a change, that's when you should be notified there's a change, and then go out there and look at it.
that's exactly what they're
That's what it's
proposing.
doing.
Huh?
That's what that'll do. In the
No, it's not just taking just a flat shot. It's more sophisticated and getting more, like I'm going back, getting more personal, where you can zoom in better and do all this. Yes, right now you can pull anybody's house up and you just look down, but you don't have the ability to start zooming down, go three-dimensional, look on the side, look around here, and scope out how they're going to go in there and rob this guy. To me, it's too much information. If we're doing it for tax purposes, you're wanting to know if they've added structure out there without getting a permit, right?
I was like, it's kind of twofold, because I would also be concerned about safety. We have a staff of women. So when they're going to these particular properties, I would want them to know what structure are in between what different buildings. Because you can have two buildings at a tall height, something small in between that, as he showed in an example, it looked like a parking lot. And I agreed it was a parking lot until he showed it was the back of a church. That type of information is needed.
Well, let me ask you this, Will.
Go ahead.
Say they fly over today, have all these images, we upload them, download them, whatever we do with them.
Okay.
You have it in your department. 3 of your female staff need to go out. They can look today. You say that's secure, that's safe. We don't have another flyover for 3 years. Something else has happened on that property. How is that gonna?
See, the goal.
How is that going to determine the safety of your staff when there's a lapse of 3-year period?
Now, in terms of in the lapse of 3-year period, the goal is my goal. We're going to have permits moving forward. There are multiple departments that kind of sat in when we originally thought about this. So the idea was we'll be able to get more information moving forward. We work together as a team now. But what about all the past stuff that got missed? That's where this came into play. How do we play catch up?
How many parcels do we have in the county?
17, a little over 17,000.
Well, my question, we were supposed to, when all this came about, it was supposed to be about reassessing property values.
Correct.
Residential and commercial. So we didn't get a bid on the commercial yet, but it's back out for rebid again. But we approved residential cost tables from Bethesda, so what is that gonna do?
They just come in and update the interior of the wind gap camera system. Like, they don't go to any property on the outside. They just take all our sales data from Meriwether County, and they'll say, 2x4 is $2.40 now, and now it's $5. That's the information they will go in and correct for us.
So they're basically reassessing the property.
No, they are fixing the camera system.
Fixing the cost that they use to generate cost per square foot.
Correct.
They're updating the cost structure within the software.
You made the comment because you got female employees and they need to know what they might be getting into.
I would like them to know, because we do have a
But
lot
we
of,
have female police officers and male police officers and so forth. But what I'm getting at, I brought this up 2 years ago. 2 of y'all's female, before I became a commissioner, might have been 3 years ago. I happened to pull out back and there's 2 walking through the gate on my pasture. One's over there pulling a tape on my barn, left the gate open with 2 $50,000 horses. I told them to get off the property because why is it so hard to contact the taxpayer who works hard, pays their taxes, and notify them of a time and date you plan to visit their property? Nobody called, nobody set an appointment up. I had a bad dog that could have got on them. I had a horse that could have got out. And I was very disturbed that they're just over there pulling from corner to corner and this and that and this and that and so forth, and never made a phone call. I think Theron was first came here. I called in and said, no one ever would come out to my property again without an appointment, unless it's the lawman with a warrant, because that's what I'm getting at. We're invading people's privacy and property just because they owe taxes, or they have to pay taxes on what they got. But you got to show respect to a taxpayer. It's their property. So I would think an appointment or a letter that's sent out when you're doing different parcels that we plan to be in the area, so forth. And you know, that's my opinion, but I don't think anybody has a right just to go out there and just show up with no phone call or no notification.
Hey, Will, let me ask you this. How many assessors, not including yourself, do you have in your office currently?
4.
And then 5 with you?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So 17,000 plus plots that you have in the county. How many parcels does your office visit and assess on an annual basis? Out of those 17,000 in a 12-month period, how many parcels do you guys go to?
Probably somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000.
4,000 to 5,000 per year. And what does that process look like? Like if you just show up, or do you call and make appointments, or?
We do not. If you are applying for an exemption where you came in and gave us a phone number, we would notify you. But if you were to take out a permit and that permit comes by you taking out the permit, that's you giving us permission to come to your property to inspect, no different than the inspector.
And the reason I ask that is if, you know, we're looking at a 3-year gap in between each flyover, I assume. It may be a 5-year gap and then fly over the 6th year after that. I haven't looked at the details of it. But if we have 17,000 parcels in the county and your office with 4 appraisers and yourself are seeing 4,000 to 5,000 per year, that's a little over 3.5 years that you could cover every single parcel and be able to go. And I know these individuals with large land amounts would be glad to take you out, or their foreman would be glad to take you out and show you. If they're not, then what are we doing flying over their property? So I kind of am siding with Gene on some of this as far as people own property. People have a right to certain things. People don't have a right to hide certain things when there are laws in place, but I think that we have an appraisal assessor's office for a reason, and that is to assess. And I cannot justify in my mind spending $190,000 over a 6-year period for this when we are fully staffed in an office that has 4 or 5, it may not be fully staffed, but you have 4 or 5 in there that can actually go out, make appointments, see these individuals, and to me, that brings more of a personable approach to everybody. It puts the county in their area. They get to meet the people. We need to make it a pleasant situation for everybody. And that's just going to bring continuity between the government here and the citizens, in my personal opinion. So again, if we're looking at a 6-year period with a 2-year flyover and we can see 5,000 parcels and assess 5,000 parcels a year, just a little over 3 years, it's kind of the same math in my mind.
Okay.
And let's clear one thing up. You made it, go ahead, you're gonna respond to him, I'm sorry.
Okay, I was gonna say, okay, let's say 4 or 5 of us, we go out to do these 4,000 to 5,000 parcels every year. Who's answering the phone? Who's talking to the taxpayer that walked into the office now?
Lynn?
One person?
No.
Oh, I was just,
But if you're not staffed up, we can get you somebody else.
I guess this is kind of not the arena for this, but I requested another staff member. And remember, that was shot down by this same particular board. So the idea was, I can't get a staff person. We're having properties that are turning up 3, 4, 500,000, $1 million property that we don't have the information on. That's people not paying their fair share. And our job is to assess all property in the county, not the friends of these people. We'll get them and we'll skip over somebody because you got 1,000 acres and you want your privacy. You got 1,000 acres, but you got a 6,000 square foot property out there that we need you to pay taxes for.
I agree with that.
Oh, no.
Just, so since you said it and it's on record so the citizens understand, when you said when they pull a permit, because I build houses, when they pull a permit, that gives you the right to go out there. Usually the process is we pull a permit, we build the building, and then within due time, right after the CO, y'all usually come out to confirm that it is the square footage and so forth, and then get it on record.
Correct.
Just because someone pulls a permit, here again, doesn't mean a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, we have the right to go there. If you pulled a permit, that's when you should be calling or leaving a note on the door is what I'm getting at. Yeah, they're not the law. They have the right to find out, but they gotta show respect to get it, and they people need to pay their taxes if they've had it. But there's things are so tight now, you gotta have, you can't get power to anything without a permit. You know, several things you can't do without a permit, so I don't know how they're building these multi-thousands of dollars buildings and getting power and so forth, because power company you don't come up with a bagel. They are not gonna run power from here to there if you ain't got a permit.
I'll give you an example, and it shows an error on our part as the assessor's office, something we're looking to correct. In a particular city in this county, there was an apartment complex that was built.
You brought that up to us last time, $30,000.
Okay, so this apartment complex, that city does their own permitting. We have no agreement with them in terms of they have to give us this information. It's nice to have this relationship, because I spoke that last time I was able to get in this county.
In what city? It's public record.
It is.
Manchester.
So an apartment was built without permits, you're saying?
No,
or just-
they took out permits, but Manchester uses a third-party permitting team. They don't use the county's permitting system. So we never got information of it. We didn't find out until now it's time to collect taxes. And they're like, well, why didn't we tax these people? Well, we didn't even know they were there.
I can understand that with the city. We need to have some serious situations talk between the city and this county, because did y'all back them up? Did y'all go back and tell them they owe us taxes?
How?
Well, that's why
How?
I said, I think if we build relationships, not with just the citizens, but with the cities themselves and the city governments through your department, I think that's probably going to bring a lot of this together. So obviously there's not that cohesiveness there with the city, and maybe they didn't know they had to tell us.
Because doesn't the city get a tax bill from the county and the city?
That I would not be
They
sure.
do.
I do the assessment part.
what
I don't
I'm
want to
getting at-
speak for.
Okay, but if that's the case, city government, I don't care whether on the council, the mayor, whoever, they know what the laws are. If they go in there and build something that big and don't notify the county, however many years that's been, that money's owed to this county. That needs to be brought out and brought forward, because before anything's given to that city or this city or does anything else from this county, they're going to make up for what they cost the county. Now, that's my opinion. So that way you stop that real quick. They need to have us on board. If they want us to be on board when they need us, they need to be on board and do what's right.
But I see what he's saying. He said how, he was meaning like, how could he enforce, I mean.
How, if you was to come, I don't know, how long ago, and I don't know how many years went by, but my personal opinion, and I think the board, if you was to walk in here and go, the city of so-and-so, whether it's Manchester alone, owes the county $28,000 or $15,000 or whatever it may be.
I value property. I don't actually deal with the tax part of it.
I
So I
understand
could
that.
just say that building looks like a $6 million building, and potentially that's the amount of taxes that was missed. But I don't know
But
the
you know how to
actual
calculate
millage
what the
rate.
taxes would be on that building.
Based on the tax, if you give me the
Right.
millage rate to it,
And if it's
correct?
been there for 3 or 4 or 5 years before we found out, they owe the county that money. Just like a citizen would owe it. If you go out and find out that this guy added an airplane hangar or added a big building, and you find out that it's been there now for 4 years, he didn't pull a permit, you're gonna make him get it, the building department's gonna make him get engineers, involved to make sure it's done right, and then he's gonna owe taxes.
That's something you can take back and then
Anyhow.
review with your board and bring back to us.
Let me
Let's get back
finish,
to
let me
that.
finish where I was at. So Bethesda Appraisal Services for 40,000, they're gonna look at all the current stuff that you have in your office.
No. They look at the sales that transpired. So if they come in for 2025, they'll look at every sale that took place in Meriwether County in the year 2024. And they'll use that information to recalculate the cost system. So just the cost system. It won't go say, hey, well, that house is a $40,000 house or a 50. No, it doesn't do that. It'll tell me what the new cost of lumber is as of today. Right now in our system, we're
So
saying.
you're gonna use the information from Bethesda to change the values of houses.
No, because you
Okay.
can't change the value because of our current
Or
homestead
property
exemption.
or whatever.
He'll use that value for the new construction that's coming up. Is the
And-
right amount to
okay,
assess
if
to
the property
that
is built
square
at
foot.
600,000 and my cost system costs out at 300,000, that means I have to manually go in here and override this to a $600,000 property. How do you explain that to a taxpayer when you manually overrid their one, but yet everybody else, you let the system calculate it on its own? No, we need to correct the system so there's enough space for 600, 700, 800 million dollar properties. At one time in Meriwether County, that wasn't a common thing. Now prices are, for an average house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, are $389 to $400. So imagine it has now moved the ceiling. I just need them to adjust so the ceiling moves along with the market.
It's all based on the square footage, isn't it?
What do you
So,
mean?
so we using that, you gonna use that as a tool to figure out the value of property? The
Yes,
Bethesda
it's a
appraisal.
tool to figure out the value of the property.
So what I'm saying is the flight, what is the flight going to do? It's just gonna show you what you don't have on your records that's out there.
The flight is gonna give me access to look across the county without having to actually just ride down streets and say, is there something up here? Is there something up here? No, we can look at that imagery and we can compare it to the information we have currently and say, wait, here's a house here that we don't have a record of. To your point, Gene, we can send them a letter and say, hey, you got a gate locked such and such, we'll be here on this day, such and such, we have a structure that is not on record. That's more so what we're looking for with the imagery, just to be able to identify where are these properties that we have no information on.
So basically, the flight is just to catch somebody that's not in compliance.
I would say it's more than just catching somebody not in compliance.
In my opinion, there's a lot of bad data in our tax system for years. They're not Mr. Harris's, he inherited a lot of this stuff. This is a step he is looking at with his staff as a way to get past that and improve that to get us back to where we need to be.
Correct.
And this will be my last statement on it, but several of us up here tonight have said there are already systems out there that provide. That's why I question the number 6 picture that he did. It's really not much clearer than Google Maps. It's really not. Very little bit could you tell difference in that number 6 picture than you could as what was put on John Q. Public by Google Maps. Now, we will only get this every 6 years, and I want the right thing done. I'm not questioning you to question you. I'm doing it because we need to know this for the citizens. So I want you to know that, okay? This is not a badger night on my part, I can tell you. So How often does Google Maps update? Does anybody know? Is it 6 months to a 12-month period that they update?
I think it's more random because I know of a house, a property that it hasn't changed in about 4 years. But my house is more current, but I've cleared some trees behind my house that it still show they're all there. And that's been probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I think it's just kind of localized areas where they're hit or miss.
Right.
And that's why I understand what they're wanting to do with that, because it would be not just your more populated areas. It is looking, I'm not so sure about wanting to get all zoomed in close 3D imagery of everybody's property. I get that. The basic overview, I completely understand, because yes, you can find images, but they're not as updated on the online that everybody can get. And the people who have hid the barn up in the woods are not the ones who are gonna come open the gate for you. They're gonna conveniently miss those appointments over and over and over, in my opinion. And that's why, I mean, I understand what they're wanting to do with it. I'm not saying I'm for zooming in, getting closer and more 3D imagery. I would be happier if it was just a more overhead, not necessarily seeing the size, but then hey, there's a new, and how they got power, some people just ran it from their house and ran a line under the ground. I mean, we all know, I know people who, the other day I drove past and there was an RV tucked up in the woods. And I said, wonder how they got power, but there's probably a generator back there and they're tucked all up in the woods. And they're not even supposed to be in the county. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
You saying that, like you said, they'll just avoid. So let me ask this, I don't know the law. I know the code enforcement in this county can go on somebody's property if there's a concern or complaint. He don't have to have permission, he can go on it. Does the state allow y'all to do the same thing? Okay, so the way you solve that problem is, once you warn them on the third time, you're coming out with code enforcement. You know, in other words, if they're gonna play that game, you're gonna have to have a plan to let the citizen know that we've asked you 3 times to come on the property to look at something, and now we're gonna come out with code enforcement and they can't stop you. That way they don't play the games. But if the law doesn't give y'all, like the code enforcement does, just to show up, I think you better get something in your program real quick about a letter or a phone call and ask them to come out.
But
there's
in
an
his
easier
defense,
way.
That's 3 times that he's been to one property that he's missed 3 other properties.
I was just about that.
I mean,
to say
that's,
that.
What's
But
that?
there is an easy way. We can implement an ordinance in this county that covers all of that, stating that through this, and this, after being contacted, then this will be the avenues in which we take. We can do that in this county by implementing an ordinance.
Yeah, I would do it if it was passed like that after so many tries. I wouldn't have an ordinance that automatically tells you you can
Okay.
go. But yeah, I like that.
No, what I was gonna piggyback off of is, okay, let's say there are 500 properties that I have to go view 3 times before I can go get somebody. How many did I miss in the process of, I'm knocking on your door today, I'm gonna come back tomorrow, So not only did the taxpayers not get a service of being able to talk to me, I spent 3 days dealing with one taxpayer when I could have gave that time to multiple taxpayers. I get it, but I'm like, that don't sound efficient to go to the same house multiple times and then I'll go get daddy to come up, make you open the gate.
I'll tell you how you do it, is the way it was taught to us in our tax class we had to take as commissioners. The gentleman that taught it for 40-something years is in Bibb County in Macon and working for the University of Georgia, said that, okay, you won't let me in. When you see your tax bill, you'll invite me in. If I can't come measure it, your bill will be so high that I'll just assume whatever's in there is whatever this is. And then when you get your bill, I'll be the first person you call to let me in to come see and measure exactly what kind of.
Now, I come from a regime of doing that. Now, I can also tell you the back end part of that. You just put in the information that was incorrect. My job is to put in the correct information and the correct value. So at the same time, I just stepped kind of past my oath. And William kind of got some issues with that part.
Yeah.
well, then they come in complaining that you overtaxed them, and then it's a whole nother process of going back out.
If so many people were to get upset because of that and appeal, and there's a certain number of appeals we can't collect. I could go down the ramifications that could come from this. I'm like, I get it, but see, that's where that picture gonna come in handy. I could look at that picture and say, that's a 5,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
I could maybe make it 5,300 square feet and that'll get them to call me. But let's say I say it's a 6,000 square foot house. We get out here and it's a 2,500 square foot house. If that person was of savvy mind, they could appeal at the county level and take it straight to Superior Court. Because that value would drop more than 15%, we would not only owe them the back tax dollars, we would also pay attorney fees. So that sword cuts both ways. We have to be careful how we push these lines, because again, at the end of the day, our job is to try to make sure we get the most accurate information so we can tax them properly.
So let's,
Can't we tell all that with one flight?
I mean, I believe we could. The only reason is they offer the change finder, and the contract shows us over 2 years. It's not, we're locked in to the 6 years. We get the first flight and we don't want to do the second flight. We don't have to. It just gives us an option.
If you don't do the second flight, you ain't gonna know nothing.
Not necessarily, because the information I'm looking for, the change finder that's going to tell me what happened in 3 years, that'll be nice. I'm going to be honest with you. It'll be nice, but if we do our job, I should know these things moving forward. But everything prior to me being here, it's either I start new at the day I came and it's this and everything moving forward and we forgive the past, whatever it is out there, or in this same process, we try to get those things cleaned up, showing the taxpayers, we're not wasting your money. We're doing something with it. We're trying to make sure that your neighbor who you keep saying, they got all this up here, and we're trying to do something about that. So we make these tax bills more fair.
So let me ask you a question. So this is a $193,585 quote.
Divide by 2.
Divided by 2, that's for each flight.
Correct.
So then it would be, 97,000, something like that. For one time fly over, we'll pay it over 3 years.
Correct.
You get the data you need to rebuild the system as it should have been done.
Correct.
And then we can decide in the next 3 years if we want to do the second flight and continue this and do whatever.
Exactly.
So that's what you're really asking for, is one of two proposals. One is allow you to have the one flight to get the database built back like it should be.
Correct.
For, can we do the math on that? So it's accurate. I got a
Calculator.
96,792.50.
96,792.50 divided by 3 be 32,7. So roughly $33,000 a year for the next 3 years, of which you said I've already found one property. It's going to be $30,000 to $40,000. So the first year is paid for, before we do it, versus letting you do the full project at 194 for rounding up over 6 years.
Well, the county's been collecting Manchester's taxes since 2022. So we should have known something because we are collecting those taxes. So something should have shown a difference in the tax commissioner's office when that came in with those bills.
Because Manchester should have got taxes on it because
Right.
they knew about the building
Right,
permit,
right.
and we didn't catch that.
But we agreed in 2022 to allow the tax commissioner to collect for the city of Manchester. We just don't do their permits, but something should have triggered through the system when that large amount came through on a particular parcel.
But I think that's something for you to take back to your
Right.
group. So how do we fix that? But
We already did. When I made the statement last time, the city reached out to me. So now we have something where on a monthly basis, not only is the city sending it to us, the third party vendor now will be sending it to us.
I'm just trying to get this back to what the item that's on the agenda instead of analyzing completely your full department and everything you do.
But I don't think we can make a informed decision until we did this.
But no matter what, you're gonna have to do another flight.
Most of it, sir.
No matter
all
what,
of
you'd
it.
have to do another flight, because he said if you do the one flight and get his database up to par, 3, 4, 5 years from now, he already said they can't hit all these parcels. You don't think there's gonna be a lot of things that's happened in 4 or 5 years around here?
If we want to do another flight in 5 years, we can do another
I'm
flight.
saying you'd have to do that in
Don't
order to
put
be
it on the
beneficial.
same thing. How long's it been since we had one?
Forever? You never had one.
2013.
I was like
But I know back in the day, people did all this stuff real easy. But now with social media and all the video cameras and so many nosy people, Man, people call all the time, and go, they doing something over there at my neighbor's property. I know they are. They got a permit. They be turning people in left and right.
All right, so we need a motion from the board to do either the partial or the full, or
That's an agenda item,
That's
Mr.
on the
Chairman.
agenda item on
it
that.
is?
Yes.
I was getting ahead of myself. We done talked about it so much, I
It's all
thought
right.
we were there.
Just wait till we get to it.
It's actually next, so you'll be.
Okay.
Okay. Well, getting close to
Well,
it.
it's close, it's
All
a
right,
couple minutes
so
away.
any more discussion about this particular item?
This presentation, no.
No.
Okay. You got anything else you'd like to add to it?
Not at the current moment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let's move on to the finance report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in front of you have the financial statements. It's about 4 o'clock today. All the finances are in good shape. You'll see 11.8 million in investment pool. That's a surplus of operating funds that are sitting there. The nearly 3.8 million in general fund includes the LMIG we just received for 800-some thousand, plus the airport grant reimbursement of 439,000, which will be transferred out to the airport. You got your January law SPOS and T-SPOS. On the back page, you got your commitments. There is an error in there. The allocations for the SPOS and T-SPOS were not uploaded to the system yet. So you're actually, your 2020 SPOS balance as of today is 466,177.25. And that's just taking the balance plus what was on the front page. Same thing with your T-Splosh, your actual balance is 439,610.43. And I did account for the minimum 30% on the LMIG to be allocated to T-Splosh.
So can we, let me make sure this is correct when I say it, and if it is, put it on the next one so we don't lose sight of it. Because we don't account for LMIG until it gets approved and we're awarded. But what we did in the meeting was take LRA funds and add it.
Potentially, if the board chooses to LRA additional funds, we could take the 500.
We've got the 2 projects that we talked about. That's already been submitted to the state. Now, if you want to do more project, we can always go over, but that would be your extra.
The dollar
budget.
amount that we agreed to for those 2 projects was to the dollar amount that you stated included the LRA balance.
Correct. If the bid comes in, that way we have enough to cover it.
So can we note that on here?
Yes,
So that these
I can note
meetings,
that on.
we're not thinking we have this much.
Correct, I can do that, Commissioner.
$570,000 to do something with, and we accidentally committed to another project, and we've already got it on.
So I add that to the LMIG as well.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
And then once we get the RFP out, if it comes in less, we'll
But
have
we have-
LRA funds.
We have 406,000 in T-Splosh,
439,610.43.
so we can use that along with the LMIG also, right?
Yes, sir. T-Splosh, as long as it goes on the road, we can use it. Paving, gravel,
Equipment for road.
equipment, anything road related.
You made a statement in the last meeting that we would have more data on the activity fees and schedules.
Yes, sir. I've spoke with Ms. Susan Harrison at Waste Management. We went through all their numbers, their tonnage, and what they're actually reporting to us is actually correct. It goes to Georgia EPD. I verified those numbers. That is actually what they take in is what we actually receive. Our bill is broke down. What our charge is based off the type of material they receive. And we just got a letter in the mail saying we're getting a 4% increase on our contract. So she ran the numbers. It's not a flat fee. It's just depending on what material comes in is how we're based and the structure is based.
When does that increase take effect?
Should be this quarter. If I read the letter just came in
That's for the ton.
last week. It's 4% of the overall cost. I think it ranges from $1.50 to $3.50, depending on type of material that comes in.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner King, from last meeting?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know how they get the percentage, because I thought it's all just based per ton, not materials.
I did too, and we sat down and what she was
They come
coming
in
up
there,
with.
everything's weighed.
Yeah, she was coming up with
Contract says so much
150,000. She had 150,000 tons on her report, which was everything that came in, but they exclude certain things by state law. If it's no cost to the taxpayer, they don't pay us the tonnage fee on that. So it came down about 30,000 less tons based off of the material, and if they offer it free, they don't collect revenue, so we don't get a share off of it.
So our citizens go out there and dump for free?
They can on
yeah,
Saturdays from
those
7
Saturdays.
a.m. to noon.
And I'll continue monitoring the billing to make sure everything, since I know kind of how the fee structure is set up now. And pass that on to the new finance director when we hire one.
Any other comments about the finance report? Do we have any department heads to speak?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Any citizen comment?
No, sir.
All right, for the minutes of the January 28th, 2025 regular meeting at 6 p.m. I trust everyone's had a chance to review them. Do we have a motion to?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? No public hearing, no appointments, no unfinished business.
There you go.
Here we go. Approval of bid for countywide aerial flight.
Commissioners, this is what we just had the discussion about. Eagle View's bid was $193,585 over 2 flights. If you did 1 flight, it's $96,792.50.
Say that amount again.
$96,792.50. Comes out to $32,264.17 a year. We did put in the budget $37,000 annually for the next 3 years. So this is a 2025 budgeted line item.
Is there a possibility, there was a cost difference between 6-inch and 3-inch, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, if there's a cost difference between 3-inch and 6-inch, there's gotta be a drastic cost difference between just a flat aerial photo and all the 3-dimensional stuff. So could we not find out how much it would be if we did a flight over? That's just, because that helps them. If it's just a flight over, they see the structures on the ground, and then he can get it all into the system, then 4 years, 5 years, we do it again, and you see this place here now has another structure there and another structure there. It has to be cheaper without all the 3-dimensional stuff.
But I think he said that the basic people do the orthogonal imagery and they offer the oblique, which is the more 3D. So I think that's on every flight that they do.
So that's not cost, it's not additional cost, it's automatic.
That's just a standard.
Lucas, are you still on?
No, he dropped off.
No, he's still.
Oh, he's back. I see he's back.
I am, yes, I'm on.
So your services actually offer the oblique, right?
So our service offers both the
There he is.
imagery. Specifically, in speaking to the cost differential between the two, our camera system mounted on the airplane is what we call a penta rig. And so regardless of whether we fly just the top-down ortho imagery or the oblique imagery, the same plane is flying the same flight plan to capture imagery. All of our cameras are always firing. And so from a cost savings perspective, we're already burning the gas, we're already paying the pilot, we're collecting the imagery. Really all you're paying for the oblique imagery, is the processing side of it. So to answer your question, yes, there is a cost differential. However, the cost difference is not large.
And what's the cost difference between 3-inch and 6-inch?
He said 15 to 30%.
Okay, so, and the plane is already flying and fuel's already there, so if you're 3-inch and 6-inch, so what would the cost difference be between if you didn't have the 3-dimensional, roughly percentage based like that?
I would have to look at the contract. The way that we plan, and speaking a little bit towards the 6-year contract as well, there's always the option to opt out of the second flight, right? Appropriation of funds is something that is required. So if you ever didn't want to fly a future flight, that's on the table 100%. The differential between, though, we're able to provide a discount by doing a longer term contract because it allows us to more effectively understand our asset load, how many planes we need to have in a specific part of the state at a specific time of year based on when you're currently scheduled to capture. So there is a cost savings that we pass along. I'm sorry.
All right, so you said long-term contract for cost savings. This 3 years versus 6 years is exactly the same per year. So you're
Correct.
so it's an additional long-term than what we already have a proposal for.
So with that cost is baked into this contract in the initial proposal we submitted. And so by doing 2 flights tentatively in the contract, we're able to lock in the price, spread that price out through 6 years and pass that savings on to you. Additionally, something we always speak towards is inflation, right? As we all know, that has been a hot topic, especially these past few years. And so by locking in that price now, it makes the agreement inflation proof and it leaves that flight on the table. So, the year before your 28th flight, if you appropriate funding, you know exactly how much you're going to be paying down to the penny for that next flight in those next 3 years. Speaking to the cost differential, if you would like for me to dig and see what that cost differential may be, I'd be happy to do that for you. Just let me know. However, I will say, the cost differential between oblique and ortho only is not significant. And that's due to how we capture imagery. It's essentially just taking 5 pictures instead of 1 as we're flying.
So right now, just to clarify that, if we do the 1 flight 3 years, it's 32,264 and change on a year for 3 years. Current proposal, if we do 2 and do 6 years, so we fly, the 4th year fly again, pay out over 6 years, it's still 32,264. If
Exactly.
we choose to do 1 now, it could be inflationary costs and make the second one cost more than it does today, is the only difference.
Correct.
My
So this
question
one
is,
versus renegotiating 3 years, if I understand your question.
That was it was not a question, but thank you.
One more question.
Go
ahead.
if we do 1 flight, is it half the price of the quote?
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that for me?
If we do 1 flight, is it half the price of the quote?
Correct. Through this contract, this agreement, if you decided to proceed with it, if you decided to do 1 flight for the $32,264.17 a year, and then decided to opt out of your second flight, there would be no obligation or no penalty to opt out of your second flight. So there is no requirement to fly the second flight if funding is not appropriated or if you decide you do not want that second flight when that time comes.
Right. And a question I got, because since y'all do this all over the country and so forth, and your 3-dimensional was pretty cool, and at 3 inches, very clear. How do y'all handle that if you was to fly over someone's house and somebody's wife is out there sunbathing in a birthday suit, or her and her husband both are out there enjoying the day by the pool? How do y'all have the time to monitor every single picture that you're taking to where all of a sudden somebody in the county's going, hey, y'all got to go on. Brian Threadgill, Commissioner Threadgill's laid out by his pool.
I'm proud of it.
or somebody else, I've been out by my pool with my wife. I'm just saying, I'm curious, how do y'all blur that out or that's not going to be a possibility? Because that was pretty clear pictures.
Sure. So
And it was 3.
from a legal perspective, we fly at an altitude that is public airspace. From the clarity perspective, there is the ability to limit how far someone in the public can zoom in to an image. And what I like to call my pet pixel, right, of being able to zoom in and look at somebody, up close and personal. Now, 3-inch imagery, when you zoom in close enough to see an individual person, a manhole cover, an address on a mailbox, you will not be able to see that. Even 1-inch imagery, though, it looks crystal clear when you're, see the whole house in the frame. You zoom in fully in with 1-inch imagery, you might be able to tell, if someone's sunbathing, you could possibly tell the color of the bathing suit, but you probably would not tell anything beyond that. And so, speaking with counties that use this imagery all day, every day, we have certainly had individuals raise concerns However, we have never had that come back and be verified due to the resolution, the nature of the imagery, and how the imagery is being utilized. So, I agree, it is very clear imagery. However, it's not the same as being there with a camera, taking a picture where you can actually get detail at that level.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion from the board?
I have a motion to deny at this point because it is just not justifiable to me for the citizens of the county.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion failed. Anyone else like to make a motion on this item?
I make a motion, we accept it. That way we can lock in the price for the second flight, because I figure fuel prices will go up between now and then, but if the money is not there when it comes time that we can get, then we can deny the second flight.
I second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Get reduced we denied it. It passed.
Motion passed.
Hope y'all ready for the phone calls.
I do have, Nathan, has legal reviewed this contract?
No, yes, sir, I have.
Everything's good to you?
I had one change.
And that's been sent back and agreed?
It's been sent back. I don't know if it's been agreed upon by Eagle View just yet.
You
So I
can
would
make a motion to approve it subject to legal review.
Right, so I would request Commissioner Snelson to modify her motion to add subject to legal review and approval.
Do I say the whole thing again?
No, just
I want to make a modification that it's subject to legal review and the modification made that legal sent to them and approved.
Second.
Second that, all in favor?
Opposed?
Two will be opposed, so, all right. Next item is discussion of Cane Creek Bridge project.
Commissioners, this was a tabled item. We received one bid for $385,113. As I stated last time, CSX has sent documents to staff to fill out to put together a cost of what it's additionally going to cost insurance-wise, and they require other requirements. Due to that and the unexpectedly high bid, staff is recommending that we reject this bid and look for alternate entrances off of county-maintained roads or place RFP back out for bid. And we still don't know what CSX will come back with their total cost package once they get everything together.
So what's a complete recommendation from staff to either
Staff will recommend
reject
that
it or to go out with
reject
an
it and
RFP?
look at alternative road entrances off of county-maintained
I'd like to make
roads.
some comments before anybody makes a motion to whatever.
And we talked to Bill Cawthorn, and there's one road, and we've been trying to reach Bill to figure out that road that they used to access as a blown-out culvert, and it may be cheaper to fix that culvert instead of fixing the bridge, and the property owners can access it that way.
This is a problem we've got. Both landowners couldn't be here tonight. One's in California and one was traveling today. The one called me. They have no access. He has no way to get to his back property to cut hayfield or anything. Ever since this bridge is, how long has it been condemned now? 2 years?
No, about
Yeah.
6 months.
It's been longer than that.
No,
Yeah, it's about 14 months,
this
isn't it?
year. I closed it 24.
In 24?
Yeah.
All right, well anyhow, he's claiming they can't cross it with a tractor, cattle trailer, they can't go back there to their property. They can't do anything with it. So he's saying he wants the bridge fixed where he has access to his property, or he doesn't want to be taxed on that property until it's fixed, because he says it's not fair. I told him I would share his thoughts. I told him to come tonight and speak, do it, under comments, but he wasn't able to make it. But
Yes, sir.
he wants access to his property, and he can't get there with that bridge condemned. And it goes over the railroad track.
Does the new access that you're speaking of allow this property owner to get to his property?
Staff will have to evaluate that actual road that Bill Cawthorn has identified to see how far it goes from the blown-out culvert.
What road is that on?
It doesn't have a name on it. We've reviewed that. I pulled the road files from years ago.
Where do you get to it from?
Matt, you want to come up?
Matt's been researching as well with
That'd be
Bill
awesome
trying to
get
find
an
it.
Alternative, yeah, as long as he can get to his property.
It's all, it's Pilgrim Church or
The
somewhere.
road that we're looking at, we're trying to decide if it was closed by the county or abandoned by the county. It's across the road from Middlebrooks Road on Barney Street in
Oh,
Woodbury.
that's Cane Creek Road.
See,
That is Cane Creek Road.
well, that's what I thought too, but we have dug and dug and dug. We cannot find any information on
The
it.
bridge washed out.
Yes, there was a culvert that went across Cane Creek right there that washed out many years ago.
Is that the one we just repaired, not the county, but the homeowner? Is that the one he's talking about?
That's the one that goes from.
Down where the church road goes
from
into?
Old Woodbury Highway to 85 is Cane Creek Road.
That sounds like the road Bill was talking about, because he mentioned a
It's been
church.
washed out a long time.
So is it a bridge or is it a culvert?
I thought it was a bridge.
What Bill talking about was a culvert.
The bridge that's condemned goes over the railroad track, and it's condemned because it's about to fall. And it can't be used. It doesn't go over a creek, it goes over the railroad track.
No, but he's talking about that bridge, the railroad trestle is what's 385,000. But on the other end of the road, the bridge washed out. So that's why the road was formerly closed. See, we look back at the records. In the year 2000, the road was abandoned. And they went around on Pilgrim Rest Church Road, the county did, and they provided those landowners access through Pilgrim Rest Church Road.
Right.
Where now it's been poured with concrete.
That's what blew out that last big flood.
Well, when that track hoe was in there digging all that out, if you notice, there was a big pile of rebar and concrete. The county did that in 2000 to get them access through there. Then in 2007, the county commissioners reopened the bridge, the trestle. So they did away with that road that the county made and didn't take care of it anymore because they reopened the trestle. Well, now we're having trouble with the trestle. So, but all we gotta do is provide it, but still, if the trestle is in dire need of repair, what's gonna happen when it starts falling in? Who's responsible?
CSX put it there.
Yeah, but I thought the county took it.
Yeah, but I reached out to CSX last year,
I thought
and
the
it's not
county
their
took
bridge.
ownership.
And then
of
what
it.
I talked to CSX about is, why couldn't we just tear the bridge completely down? All they cared about is if we did a crossing. And they said if we could give up, they were told Bill Caldwell, if we could give up, find somewhere in the county where we could give up 2 crossings we don't need anymore, then it would be easy to get permission to do that.
Things that have worked in the past when it comes to CSX has been to get Debbie Buckner and Randy Robertson involved. They pull these meetings together and you seem to get more results when they're involved.
Well, I did talk with Randy, and he's the one that got me a great guy up there at
Right.
Capitol with CSX, and we've been talking about it, and that's why they were wanting us to try to figure. It's not impossible to get permission, but it would be easier to get permission if we had some in the county somewhere that's not usable anymore, that they can kill out.
Well, it says right here that got to bid for 385. Additionally, CSX has informed staff of new requirements.
Correct.
So what are the new requirements?
We just got the documents today, I believe. They were emailed to me today.
Is CSX gonna contribute to us?
Because what
I don't believe so, Commissioner.
My concern is they just built the new bridge in MLAC. And I understand they raised that bridge up like 8 to 10 feet to accommodate double stacked cars on the track. So are they gonna want that wooden bridge raised up also?
No, that hasn't been mentioned yet. Right now, we can repair the wood bridge as it is, as long as it passes inspection.
Well, that's what this says.
That's
But
what they
that's
told us.
$300,000.
CSX has informed staff of new requirements.
So is the issue with this guy not being able to access his property, is it because of the railroad, is it because of a bridge, or is it because of a culvert?
That's what we're trying to find out, Commissioner.
Okay.
So you need us to approve rejecting this bid, put it back out to RFP.
If there's somebody who wants to look at the bridge, they can have permission to go anytime they want to.
Well, I make a motion to reject the bid for the crossing for 385, 113.
And I'll second it because I don't think we know what we're talking about.
It'll allow them to put out for new RFP.
to find out more information on access and.
And we'll bring it back at next meeting if we need to put back our RFP or if we find an additional route.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. Yep. All in favor? Motion passed. New business, Meriwether County Safety Coordinator Resolution, approval and allow chair to sign.
Commissioners, every year, we get a safety discount from ACCG IRMA. At the present time, I am the safety coordinator for the county. This resolution is presented by ACCG just to state that Meriwether County will have a safety coordinator. We're trying to get ready for the FY '25 audit that ACCG will be doing for the safety coordinator.
And that'll be done in April.
Yes. And that saves us, if I'm not mistaken, 7% on our property liability insurance.
So do we have a resolution?
It's behind it.
Okay.
And this would be pending legal review. This is we sent it as, this is standard ACCG resolution. We just would recommend pending legal review and allow the chair to sign.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
With safety coordinator resolution be approved and chair to sign.
Second. Pending legal review.
Yeah.
Yep, all of it.
So, all in favor? Okay, approval of contract for band for July 4th, 2025 celebration. I assume this is at,
Lake Meriwether, correct, Commissioner. The proposed contract for the July 4th event at Lake Meriwether is for Smokey Jones and the $3 pistols for a cost of $3,850. Legal has requested 3 modifications. We're waiting on the vendor's acceptance. Staff recommends approval of the contract, pending legal review of the revised agreement, authorize the chairman to sign.
Is this in addition to what will be spent?
No.
And how much was it?
$3,850. And I believe last year it was paid for a donation by
Yeah.
local
Yeah.
business in Woodbury, and I believe they're committed to donating again this year.
And I've talked to, the band is going to change, add the 3 paragraphs and send the contract back.
Good.
but to Commissioner Threadgill's point, this is to be included, at this time, to be included with the $25,000 approved last year. not
Correct.
In addition to.
Yeah. that's
Correct.
All right,
It'll fall under that
It's not
25,000.
on top of it.
right, okay.
We just want to go and get locked in so we can secure the band for July 4th.
Great.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It'll be any pending legal review that
Legal review.
that the modifications were
Review the
made.
Contract, yeah.
Yeah.
You second that?
A second.
All in favor?
Do I need to vote too?
I don't know. Did you vote?
I did.
So 3, all right, any opposed? Motion passed. Report from county administrator.
Commissioners, give you an update on projects that are going on in the county. The fuel farm in Manchester has been removed. It looks beautiful down there. I rode by there today. And the only thing out there is the shed, and we'll contact Manchester to see if they want the shed or if the county, because we can use it as a building for a backup generator. So they are doing water samples. I'm waiting on the results of that for further testing. Courthouse assessment is scheduled to be completed no later than March 14th. The elections contractor will be given a notice to proceed tomorrow. He was given today, so he's already been given a notice to proceed. The DFAX building, the old DFAX building, we're working on the office layout, then we'll begin configuring accordingly. The animal shelter has completed the Rachel Ray Foundation grant with a new roof, parking lot paving, landscaping, building repairs. Jail locks and jail plumbing, we'll get an update on that, but I believe completion status is nearly complete, but we'll verify that. I'm anticipating the ambulance remount box paid out of SPLOST to be ready next month. Leadership training, the department heads and supervisors are attending a 5-day leadership training at West Georgia Tech. Reaching out to the state to get more information on the car counts on roads. Working on an RFP for an insurance broker, aiming to have that ready at the next meeting for the board's approval. LMIG 23 is complete. LMIG 24 is about 98% complete. We received the funding for the LMIG 2025 and we've been working on the RFP.
You said we did receive funding or?
We did receive the funding for LMIG 2025 was approved. So we already have the 838,000 in the bank.
No, I hadn't checked it today. No.
I transferred excess operating funds to the investment pool to earn higher interest income. Public Works has been assessing Crawford Creek and November Lane. They've also been putting gravel down in some areas lately to allow traffic to access the road, and be coming back to lay down more gravel. We have to order 5 sets of speed bumps and signs for Dunn Road. They have been marked where to put them. I'll be attending the last class needed for safety coordinator so that we can be in compliance with the audit for ACCG. Attended the water and sewer meeting, airport authority meeting. The FY24 audit started last Monday, February 3rd. The auditors are on site this week as well. We interviewed for a public works director, waiting on a response. Interviewing for a finance director. And we have a House Bill 581 public hearing tomorrow, February 11th at 6 p.m.
Any questions? Report from county commissioners, Commissioner Nelson.
I don't have anything. I'm good.
Commissioner King.
I'm just glad everybody's doing what they're doing, and we're getting things done and moving forward and seeing progress in the county. And see Randy's visiting us here tonight. Appreciate what all he's doing with the rec department, and it's really booming. So I'm good. Everything seems to be going in the right direction.
Commissioner Collins.
I just want to thank staff and employees for everything they do, and I did get out today and see they got the road patch up cleaned out, and they got it patching the roads, and it looked like it's doing a good job.
Good.
And that's all I have.
And I don't have anything to add.
Okay. I don't have much other than thank everyone for what they're doing and continuing to do. Well, I was just trying to finish
He's trying to get
my
it
part.
out.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll go ahead. Report from county attorney, Nathan.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to report. Thank y'all for working with me tonight with this funeral in the family. It's been very helpful to let me be here near my parents. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Adam, I'm gonna teach you to use that gavel.
All right, so I understand we do have a need for executive session for
Yes, personnel and real estate.
real estate.
Is that it?
Correct,
Y'all sure?
correct.
Okay.
Okay, I'll read future meetings and notices. Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, special call meeting, 6 p.m. for House Bill 581. I will not be present for that tomorrow.
I'll be here.
Okay.
You'll be here.
Will be closed Monday, February 17th, 2025, observance of President's Day. Tuesday, February 18th, 2025, regular meeting, 6 p.m. Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, regular meeting, 6 p.m. So do I have a motion to go in executive session?
Yep, personnel and real estate. Second.
All in favor? Executive session is 7:32.
I got you wedged up there.
I got a motion to go in executive session. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Back in regular session and 8:34, there was no action taken in executive session. Anything else need to come before the board?
No, sir.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank y'all.